Hello, very good morning to everyone. Children, how are you? And I hope you are continuing your studies. You are not away from your studies, reading textbook, practicing diagrams, and looking to the previous videos to refresh. So today we'll be discussing about peripheral nervous system. Actually, the points are like this. There are two types of cells in peripheral nervous system. First point. Second, they carry information to sensory nerves as well as from there to motor nerves. Third, cells of sensory nervous system send information to CNS from internal organs or from external stimuli. Motor nervous systems carry information from CNS to organs, muscles and glands. Once again, children, motor nervous system. The motor itself means the muscles. Okay, that carries information from CNS to organs, muscles and glands. The motor nervous system is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. What is the number one? Somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system controls skeletal muscles. Okay, that is the external sensory organs also controlled by it. That is the skin. This system is said to be voluntary because the response can be controlled consciously. So, any response which is controlled by our will and wish, we can call it as voluntary. The action as voluntary. Reflex reactions of skeletal muscles, however, are exemptions. These are involuntary reactions to external stimuli. Suppose in the lower grades you have learned that is touching a hot object, suddenly you withdraw your hand from that hot object. Sometimes something goes into your eye, you start blinking. What is the reason? This is all involuntary reactions according to the external stimuli. We'll come across this chapter little more in detail. Second, the autonomic nervous system. It controls involuntary muscles such as the smooth muscle and the cardiac muscle. Children, where is cardiac muscle located? I know. You know the answer. You will be all telling it is heart. So this system, this autonomic system is called by another name also, involuntary nervous system. So what are the two types of motor system? That is, one is somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Let us come across another term, reflex action. It is the sudden response of the effectors to a stimulus. Effectors means the part which is getting affected because of a stimulus. So what is reflex action? It is the sudden response of the effectors to a stimulus. Example, as I told you before, when we suddenly touch a hot object, we withdraw our hand. Okay, so this is a reflex action actually. This is definition that you have to write. That is, reflex action is sudden response of the effectors to a stimulus. Now, let us see what is happening in the reflex action. The nerves in the skin, they are called receptors. They detect the heat and pass the message through the sensory nerves and to the spinal cord. Okay. Then the information passes through the motor neuron or the nerves to the muscle. We call it as effector at that time now. And the hand is withdrawn from the hot object. So this is very important, children, to remember. I'll tell you in a brief way. I have put a diagram also, which is very important for you to learn. So what is reflex action, how it is working? That is, the skin's nerves are there. We call it as receptors. It receives the heat impulses or messages through sensory nerves and reaches the spinal cord. From there, the spinal cord, the message is passed to the motor nerves, and that is called the muscles. To the muscles, I mean, from motor nerve to the muscles. It is called effectors. And then we withdraw the hand. Now, the next important point, the path. The pathway of the reflex action is called reflex arc. Okay, the reflex arc is the pathway of reflex action. In a reflex arc, the stimulus is received by receptors and it passes through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the information passes to the motor nerves to the effectors, and finally the response is generated. It can be for a gland, it can be for a muscle, anything. Okay. Now, let us see this reflex action. I mean a reflex arc. See here in this diagram, see what is happening. The heat or the pain or stinging of a bee, whatever it is received by the skin. We call it as receptor. And it is carried by sensory neuron. It is passed to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the relay neuron passes the message to the motor neuron. And it reaches the effector. So how is it happening, children? I'll tell you once again. Receptor, from there it receives, then passes to a sensory neuron, reaches the spinal cord, then the relay neuron, then the motor neuron, and reaching the effector part. So this diagram is important. You have to learn the movement, the path, how it goes. Okay, so remember this. Now, for the next week, let me introduce a small topic so that when you are reading, or you'll come up with an idea for the next week what is going to happen. For the next week, we'll be discussing thoroughly about the endocrine glands. So this week is just an introduction. Endocrine glands are the glands which are called ductless glands, or we can say that our body has number of organs called endocrine glands which secretes chemical substances, and these chemical secretions are called hormones. Actually, dear children, hormones play a major role in control and coordination and regulation of the function of tissues, organs, etc. in our body. Hormones are secreted by ductless glands, as I told you before. Okay, it is regulating various functions, coordinating in animals, including man. As you know, man is a social animal. The endocrine glands in our body are, here are some examples which I am going to tell you now. Pineal gland, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, adrenal, pancreas, testes, and ovary. These are some of the examples of endocrine glands. Okay, these are the endocrine glands. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. So we'll be continuing with endocrine system or endocrine glands in the next upcoming week. The next class. Okay, so till then, read it very carefully, and you also do the worksheet which I'm going to upload now along with this video. Do it, practice it, my dear children. Draw the diagrams and practice it, etc. Okay, so take care. Until then, bye bye.